Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Lil Pop Stars Podcast.
I'm your host Tanner and
Sydney.
And today we have a very special guest, Jett Blyton.
Really excited to be here.
Yes, we're excited to talk to you. I've been listening to your music for quite a while, so this is kind of crazy that this is all happening.
God bless. That's so kind. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
We kind of start off each little bit of the podcast with some pop quiz questions about yourself.
Okay, so what's the song that you've had on repeat?
Song I've had on repeat has been Golden Rule by Young Friend. Really, really great song. Produced by a guy called Marinelli, who's out of LA as well. Just really good American indie rock, which I didn't know you guys had. Indie rock is like a huge thing in Australia, but American indie rock has like a really unique little twist to it, which I love. So I've been listening to that one a lot. Been listening to a lot of Role Model, Look at That Woman, and also starting to get into McGee a little bit because he just finished his Australian tour, which I'm loving.
And what is your favorite candy?
Favorite candy? I love Skittles. I think that's a go-to answer.
What is the first concert you ever went to?
The first concert I ever went to, I actually don't even remember. No, it was the Wiggles. I was 4. It was great.
Nice. What is your favorite color?
Favorite color is blue.
What is your favorite music genre?
Pop. All the way.
Dream place to visit?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I've always wanted to go to France, I reckon. Would be a lot of fun. But I've heard bad things from people that go to France and then they're like, oh, it's not really all it's cracked up to be. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's France. Like, come on now.
And finally, what is your favorite album released this year?
Oh, it's got to be Brat. That album and the whole release that went with it, like, it's just insane. And like, I've been a Charli fan for so long now. Like, I remember waiting up till midnight till Crash came down, and so it's so cool to see her doing so well now, and like having such a successful rollout. Honestly,
did she come to Australia?
She's coming to Australia in Feb, which I'm really excited for. She's coming to a festival called Laneway, which is one of our bigger festivals here. So I will be seeing her. I will be front row, I promise.
Now we'll start talking about your music. Obviously, your songs are very much pop, but I feel like your voice is so different than most pop artists. Is pop kind of how you describe your music to people?
I would describe my music as pop. However, the reason my voice is I would say probably a bit different is because I started out doing opera. So a few years ago, I was right into classical music and stuff. And then, I've just always been listening to pop music. So even from a very young age, I was bumping Kesha when I was 6. So yeah. I've always had a really strong love for pop music. And I thought, why don't I try it out? See what I've been doing? Because I've been writing songs since I was 10 or 11 now. So it's always been a part of my life, but I kind of decided that I wanted to pursue it last year. And so I think the last EP was all about kind of discovering what genre I wanted to do. And then this most recent one, just kind of honing into something and trying to make something a bit more cohesive, but still pop and still me.
Yeah. And with that, with Sleep on the Altar, do you still kind of see yourself in those songs, or do you feel like you're in kind of a new sort of era with your music?
Sleep on the Altar. Wow. That was a really experimental era for me. The way we made the project, it was just, I made it with one person in Canberra, which is where I live, which is not a huge city by any means. And so the music scene here is super tight knit, but I made it with one person and I wrote all the songs myself and kind of just wanted to see what kind of vein I was going to. So you've got some more, I guess, indie pop songs like June. But then there's also some indie rock on there with Atypical. and some more ballad styles with harness. So it was really just me trying to experiment and see what I wanted to do. But I think with Double Vision, it's been way more collaborative, which I've really, really enjoyed. So I feel like it's more me now, and it's just more fun. And I still look back on the songs from Sleep on the Altar with like a great fondness, because they're all like my little children, you know.
Yeah.
But I think like I've definitely grown a lot since then, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, do you have any favorite songs you've made?
I do. I feel like every time I write a new song with someone or get a new song produced, that one always becomes my instant new favorite. But I think out of the released ones, I really do love Borderline. I really love Crash the Party and Leave. I love June. I'll always have a really, really soft spot for June. And also Atypical is like one of my friends' favorites, even now. I think that song just, there's a little bit of magic we captured in the day on that one, which I really love. What about you guys? Do you guys, I feel like I want to know about you guys. What's your deal? Are you guys listening to a lot of music at the moment?
I mean, lately I have, since we started this podcast, have been trying to listen to like a lot of smaller artists, but like all the Brats, we love Brat, and
Love.
I mean, Short and Sweet, I listen to a lot, and
Have to.
Secret of Us by Gracie Abrams.
Awesome. That's so cool. I love all those albums. Great taste. Great taste.
For me, Brat, and I listen to a lot of Tate McRae too.
Oh, awesome. She just wrapped up her Australian tour. No, I know. All my friends went. They were frothing over it.
Yeah, we went to both Tate McRae and Charli XCX concerts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love them.
Yes. I mean, I listen to a lot of pop. See, you listen to like a little more rap.
Mm-hmm.
All of the above.
I love that.
But I was wondering about your, like, all your different EP and single covers. I think that's what originally made me like listen to, I think June. It was like probably the first song I heard, and like seeing how just like unique that cover was. And then from there, I feel like everyone's just so just like stands out. Is that a process that usually you think of some sort of idea, or do you work with like photographers and stuff?
Yeah, I think all of the single covers, I'm very like, I guess the word I would say is like particular. I'm like, I know exactly what I've got envisioned in my brain, and I like to fiddle with them. But I work with a great Canberra-based photographer. His name's Sean O'Gorman, and he did most of my photo covers except for the two Sleep on the Altar and Sleep on the Altar Deluxe ones. But everything from this era has been shot by him, and he's also done all of the great video work on my Instagram and TikTok and stuff, which is really, really sick. But I think like my favorite covers has to be the Double Vision one. It's just like the two eyes. It feels very, very cool, and also like very me. And I think it's been so fun putting visuals to the songs. That's my favorite like part of the whole visual aesthetic has to be the single covers and the EP covers.
Yeah. And with that Double Vision cover, was that something that you had like a graphic designer work on, or did you do that, or you're the photographer?
Yeah, it was just the photographer. He did it in in Photoshop, but we made sure that we had all the angles proper so he could just cut it out and stitch it together, which was really sick.
So with that director, what has the sort of process been like collaborating with them and making those videos sort of come to bring the songs to life?
It's been so much fun. He's also a queer artist, which I really love. I just love working with other queer people. I feel like they get it in a way that sometimes other people might not. But he's a lot of fun to work with, and it's been really smooth sailing. And it's really great when the people you work with feel like friends. Feel like you can really just get along with them easily. It just makes the whole process super easy. So I kind of like to cherry pick who I work with just to make sure that I can get on with them really well, because I think that not only forms a great creative relationship, but also just you can form great social relationships that way. And the process, I feel like for every single shoot It's usually a couple days. So we just kind of block out a weekend and run through our checklist of things to do. And some ideas work and some ideas don't. But I think that's just kind of the magic of working with someone and figuring it out, especially with just like a little 2-person team. It's a lot of fun.
Switching over to like how you title things, with like June and Borderline, those being like the first singles you released for the EPs, and then both of those songs include like the title of the EP. I didn't know if that was like something that was intentional or if that just sort of happened naturally.
The way that I named the first EP, I actually had no idea what to name it for the longest time. And I was just on a walk one day and just kind of like humming the song in my head, just like going back over, and I was like, Sleep on the Altar. Wait, Sleep on the Altar. That's the sickest name ever. And so that one was just like super, it was like an aha moment, like a light bulb. But Double Vision, I actually had the name from the get-go, from the first sessions I started recording, because I actually ended up recording a lot of the songs for Double Vision Volume 2 before the songs for Volume 1. So I kind of had that name in the back of my head. And I think in a lot of the songs, there's a theme, either it's lyrically or thematically, I guess, about double vision, as both a concept of like party culture, I guess, like not being able to see straight, but also just different perspective and how two people can see the same situation completely differently. So I do touch base on it in Borderline, but there's other songs that I don't think have come out yet, where I'm also touching base on that. So it's a huge running theme along the whole project, which is cool.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And do you say there's a significance to the capitalization of like the titles in Sleep on the Altar and then the traditional format of Double Vision?
I just think it was what I was feeling at the time.
Yeah.
I think the capitalization, like I was really into it because I think you can always mess around with it. Like I think Billie Eilish does it a bit. Charli did it with this. I love the way that she's put her song titles as like sentences, which is really fun. I might do that one day. But yeah, I just think like it's all about the vibe of the project. If it feels right, it feels right.
Yeah.
Nice. So I know you were, I can't remember what you said about Harness, but that song, the production of it kind of really stands out to me. And I think it's just how the verses are kind of slow and then it gets to really that more like pop rock moment and just kind of keeps building. How was that sort of process working with the producer on that one?
That was a really fun song to make. And it's also the only song I've ever made that has live drums. So it just added a lot of life to the song. But I know I always knew that I wanted to do like a pop rock thing with it because I was listening to a ton of like Renee Rapp and Olivia Rodrigo at that time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would love to channel just a little bit of that in this song. But I think ultimately like the thing that really tied together that song was the vocal performance. I slaved over that vocal performance for so long. Made sure I got it just exactly right. Because there's some songs where you can just like kind of slap a general tune on it and like it's more, the other elements of the songs are more important. I would say like a song like that for me is probably 44 minutes, 44 seconds. Like I would say the vocal performance is not the most important part of that song, but Harness, it was definitely just about getting that one right. And so it was a song that was a bit finicky, but a very, very rewarding result, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Now that you like, when you said Olivia Rodrigo is kind of who I thought of, but then now that you mentioned Renee, I feel like No Angel is kind of similar in that.
Very much.
And with June and Can't Lose, I feel like those are kind of similar in that they have those quieter moments. I guess June and Can't Lose more specifically at the endings. And then especially in June, it kind of turns into that just like piano. Is that something you see yourself exploring, just like more acoustic songs, or do you prefer to have more production?
I write a lot of like singer-songwritery songs. Like I think in my day-to-day writing just at home, I always write with a piano. And I think I take a lot of inspiration from Lizzie McAlpine and Ryan Beatty. which is super different to a lot of the stuff that I've released. I would love to do a project like that one day, but I think at the moment, all my references for all my upcoming stuff is like 2012 recession pop. Just because I think that was like my first true love with music, and I think it's just the funnest form of music that you can make. And I think it's really hard to stand out making piano ballads and stuff when everybody does it. And I think there's so many great writers that are doing excellent work in it already. And I don't want to come in there with my own take on there just yet. But I think I've got a lot to add to the pop kind of sphere. So that's where I've kind of been harnessing all my energy. But I've been kind of silently writing a lot of piano ballads and stuff in the background that I hope see the light of day one day. And if I ever do like an album, I'll be sure to chuck on a couple. But I think like pop music is my real true love at the moment.
With those like remixes for Come Down, are there any other songs you'd be interested in doing remixes for?
I'd love to do remixes for all my songs if I could. They're so fun. I think the two people that did the remixes for Come Down, I'm good friends with Mackenzie Collins, who has another artist named Kyla. He's crushing it at the moment. And Pello, we met through a competition that I did last year, which is pretty big in Australia. It's called Unearthed High. And yeah, I have so much respect for both of those producers because they're both like pretty young, like I think 18 and 20. So I just wanted to kind of give them a platform. And I knew Come Down was always a song I wanted to kind of experiment doing remixes for. But I would love to do remixes for more songs. I think Charli XCX has really kind of shown a light on what a remix can be, rather than just a house remix or just like adding a verse to a song. And she's kind of, in a way, reinvented what a remix to a song could be. So I'd love to explore. I guess a Brat style remix would be really fun. But who knows? Who knows? I might have some things in the works.
How she just kind of not redid the whole album, but just kind of reinterpreted it.
Mhm.
Are there any like songs you've made so far that you could see being like reinterpreted, maybe like keeping some parts, but then sort of going in a different direction with?
I think a song like Crash the Party and Leave could be really fun to remix because it's got so many motifs throughout the whole song. And obviously the vocoder harmonies that it kind of starts with, you could do something with that. I've always kind of pictured a big monologue over that bit, but we didn't record it on the day. I'd love to do a remix, maybe with a monologue over that, or reinterpret it with a. I'd love to work with some amazing Australian women in music, just because I think the voice would sit really well over particularly that song. But yeah, I definitely always have lots of ideas for remixes and stuff like that.
So going to Double Vision, I know there's obviously like volume 1. Are you expecting to just have 2 volumes, or is there like more lined up past that?
Thinking for the bulk of the project, 2 volumes. I would love to do some remixes. I really, really would love to do a little baby remix project afterwards, just to tie it all together. But I do kind of see the era as 2 volumes with distinct sounds. So I think like the first volume has definitely been more of like a pop R&B fusion, like a little bit of R&B, not a ton, not like an aggressive amount. But the second one is definitely way more 2010s electro pop. So some inspiration from Lord and a little bit of that like 2012 kind of recession music, which I really love. Little bits and bobs. So they are like 2 kind of distinct palettes, I guess, in my head, which I love. And I think that's kind of what I really wanted to explore for this project. But also just because it's like double vision, I think it's cool to have like 2 projects as a keeping the theme alive, I guess.
And are there any other projects you're working on right now?
There is. I don't want to say too much about it just because I don't know when it's going to come out. It might be a few years from now. But kind of been silently working on something for the past year and probably will keep working on it for the next several years. I'm really excited about it though, and I feel like I've struck gold. I feel like a leprechaun, you know. It's is good. I can't wait for people to hear all the stuff I've been working on behind the scenes as well.
That's awesome.
You have done like some live performances. How has that been like compared to working just in a studio? Do you get nervous performing live, or is that something you're pretty comfortable with?
I've been performing live just in kind of a more, I guess, classical capacity for ages now, so long, and so I don't really get nervous anymore. But it's so weird. It's so strange performing your own songs on stage. It's a super unique feeling, at least for me. I have a lot of fun doing it, but I think my biggest takeaway is I need to hit that gym. I need to do those Capel Roan up and downs. I swear, you lose your breath so quickly. But it's so much fun, and it's super rewarding when you see people singing the songs back to you, and it's so awesome. It really is. It's a lovely experience. But I think it's just something that I'll get better at with time, and I'm really excited. So I think the birds are having a fight right next to me. But
How many songs do you usually have to perform in like a set?
I've usually stuck to 30-minute sets because they've been opening sets. So it's usually 5 songs and a cover, but I'm doing a bit of a longer set in about a week from now, which I'm a bit excited for and nervous about because there'll be some unreleased songs in there, and it'll be fun. I feel like I've got enough material out now to the point where I can comfortably kind of perform a set and not have to worry about, oh, do I have enough songs to fill it up? Like, I feel good about it, but I just can't wait to perform the new music. I think that music specifically will be really fun live.
Nice. And are you still kind of performing songs from Sleep on the Altar, or have you transitioned away from that?
I performed June and Atypical just because I think they're 2 of my favorite songs. I actually wrote them both in the same week, which is kind of weird to think about, that the 2 songs were the first songs that I wrote from that project, except for Can't Lose. We don't talk about Can't Lose. Anyway, June and Atypical, I still perform those ones. Harness is really hard to perform live, so I've kind of taken a step back from that one. But also, I just think the newer songs, especially in the Canberra scene, a lot of people know those songs better than the older songs, so it just makes more sense to perform those.
Yeah. Do you have like an idea of sort of, if you were like headlining a tour, do you have an idea of your dream tour, what that would look like?
Yeah, I'd love to do a little tour of the Australian East Coast next year. So that would be Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra, Brisbane. I think that would be really, really fun. I'm partnered with an amazing youth-based events company called Anti-Dismal, who put on a bunch of kind of like DIY live shows, but in a really kind of like cult following fashion. I think they take the punk approach and apply it to pop music, which I really love. And so hopefully looking at doing some stuff with them next year. I mean, obviously the dream tour is like a sweat tour or something like that. You can't go much bigger than that. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens.
Nice. And are there any small artists you would like to highlight?
Let me get my phone out. Let me get a list up. I would love to highlight an artist called Elianie. I think she's incredible. She makes Olivia Dean-esque kind of music, but she's from the other side of Australia, Perth. I would love to highlight Lucy Sugerman. I love Lucy Sugerman. She's another Canberra-based artist who's making fun Lily Allen kind of pop music, whom I really love. And we'll do one more. I would love to highlight Ixaras, who is an incredible punk pop artist from Brisbane, who is years beyond her league. She's the next big thing, dare I say.
Nice. We will be sure to listen to all
definitely.
of them. So like if it's either them or like other artists, are there other artists you're interested in collaborating with?
Yeah, I would love to collaborate with a ton of Australian artists. I think Australian artists have such a rich and diverse sound. It's just a problem here that we don't have many people in Australia that are really engaged in Australian music. So I think you find that a lot of Australian artists are big overseas before they're big in Australia. And so I would love to work with some Australian artists just kind of while I can. And most of my audience is international. So even just like push some people out to an international audience would be insanely cool. And I love what you guys are doing with the podcast as well. Super sick, super cool initiative. Fully support it.
Yeah, we appreciate you talking with
Yes,
us, and we're
definitely.
excited to see your upcoming projects, and we'll definitely check out the artists you mentioned. Thank you, Jett, so much for talking to us, and thank you everyone for listening and watching. Make sure you go listen to Jett Blyton's music wherever you listen to music, and we'll see you on another episode of Lil Pop Stars Podcast.